Have you heard? The year of the Linux desktop is upon us! Well, not really. The year of the Linux desktop is not upon us, and never will be, because it's a joke. It's a meme. Linux isn't going to become everyone's operating system of choice in a year, heck, probably not even in 5 years. But, if you're anything like me, you've been hearing and seeing more and more about Linux lately, and I think it would be unfair to say that something isn't changing. First and foremost, Microsoft decided to create the biggest e-waste incident in human history by sunsetting Windows 10 in favor of the worthless piece of garbage that is Windows 11. Over the years, Microsoft's business model has shifted from innovation towards selling spyware disguised as an operating system. Windows 11 is truly horrible. It is a bloated, slow, invasive nanny of an operating system, teeming with AI features nobody asked for, telemetry sending your every keystroke back to Daddy Microsoft so that they can sell your data to the highest bidder or use it for their own nefarious purposes. And at the end of the day, it just feels like a plain downgrade from Windows 10 in every way. It's slow. It sucks to use. Things break for no reason. Yes, Windows 10 had a lot of issues, and over the course of its life, it began to suffer from the same things that are now plaguing Windows 11. With the switch to Windows 11, Microsoft stripped what little good was left in Windows 10 and shipped Windows 11 as a desecrated, bloated AI spyware corpse of Windows 10. At the end of the day, Windows 10 still just worked for a lot of people. People like me, even. And I've been a computer nerd my whole life and managed to put off switching to Linux despite knowing that Windows 10 still sucked because, like I said, at the end of the day, it did still just work. And continuing to use Windows 10 was still less effort than switching to Linux. But alas, Microsoft has left nerds like myself, and most importantly, a lot of regular users, no choice. Their OS is now so blatantly horrible that even the most tech-illiterate normies you know are now learning about Linux. This is a bit anecdotal, but I have been seeing and reading lots of stories and posts online about first-time Linux users making the switch. People who previously had no interest in their OS, citing their reason for giving it a shot first and foremost because of Microsoft's folly and mishandling of Windows. All over YouTube and Reddit, I've seen first-time Linux user this, first-time Linux user that, how to get started with Linux, what's the best distro to choose, all uploaded in the past 0 to 12 months. I understand much of this is my own algorithm, but these videos are getting a lot of views, not just me on 1 million accounts. Additionally, we're seeing more and more big tech channels break out of their algorithmic bubbles into the mainstream covering Linux use for the first time. Channels like LTT and PewDiePie in particular have been going full speed ahead on Linux content lately. Secondly, big tech and the tech overlords have become more and more flagrant in their attacks against your digital autonomy and your privacy. More and more often, we are seeing subtle and blatant actions indicating that big tech is coming for your PC. Many of these companies have gone on record saying they believe the future is totally cloud-based, that soon there will be no reason for people like you and me to own a personal computer, and that we'll just have to rent our computation power from big tech. If you're stuck in the Windows ecosystem, what's stopping Microsoft from charging you a subscription to use your own operating system? Would anyone even stop them at this point? Computer privacy and literacy are more and more under attack and less understood. Switching to Linux is an excellent way to combat this issue. Linux is inherently more private to begin with, and depending on what distro you choose or how much of a nerd you are, using Linux will passively, or actively if you're really dedicated, make you much more computer literate and acutely aware of what exactly is going on behind every keystroke, every web search, every file you send, every program you install, every patch devs send to programs you use every day. Linux puts it all right in your face, right at your fingertips. Yes, you can choose to ignore all the information the OS offers to you, but it's much harder to ignore. Personally, in a matter of about a month, I went from not using Linux at all to installing Arch on my laptop, planning on building a NAS, and switching my major to comp sci. I'm not joking, by the way. Now, keep in mind, I am literally a joke. I live in my mom's basement, I use Arch Linux, and I'm making a YouTube video glazing the OS as we speak. I am a super nerd. I've been using PCs since before I could wipe my own butt. However, I was in something of a tech slump, but switching to Linux has made me empowered to reclaim my digital independence. Now lastly, Linux has just gotten plain better. Over the years, Linux has really, and rightfully in many cases, earned a reputation of being unuser-friendly, difficult to use, lacking support for many major productivity programs, lacking support for gaming, and having intolerable gatekeeping losers of a user base. While the last thing is still true in many ways, everything else I have mentioned has greatly improved over the past few years. Gaming in particular is much more supported now. Translation layers like Proton and Wine have gotten seriously capable in large part thanks to Valve, and more games, new and old, run natively on Linux now. Valve have long maintained an acute interest in increasing the viability of Linux, probably thanks to Gaben's outstanding grudge against Microsoft, and they have done some serious heavy lifting for the ecosystem. Their Steam Deck is based on Arch, and that thing is an awesome and super capable piece of hardware. Seriously, the Steam Deck is really cool, and you should definitely try and at least demo one if you haven't gotten the chance. Additionally, when announcing their new Steam machine last year, they said that it's going to run on their own distro, but you can put whatever you want on it. It's your PC after all, highlighting their commitment to user autonomy and a more free ecosystem. They have absolutely brought a lot of awareness to Linux and the issues I have covered in this video. However, they are still a corporation, so we should watch them carefully, hold them to high standards, and take everything they say and do with a hefty grain of salt. While many productivity apps still don't run on Linux, particularly Adobe apps, open source alternatives have gotten better and better and better. These alternatives are free, community maintained, able to be completely and totally customized to your liking, immune to having features you rely on changed or removed at the company's whim, and did I mention free? Adobe in particular have taken a serious hit to their public perception over the past few years due to their frankly evil and extremely predatory business practices. Taking away users' abilities to buy a license outright and forcing them to be locked into indefinite subscriptions, charging absurd cancellation fees, if you can even find the cancellation button, and cramming their products full of telemetry and AI garbage. Many users have decided they've had enough of Adobe's abuse, and rightfully so. Look, to summarize, the year of the Linux desktop, well, it's a joke. It always has been a joke. It always has been a meme, and it always will be. However, it's beginning to represent something else, taking on new meaning. A joke that, in my opinion, now represents the growing movement towards Linux as a daily driver. For you, for me, for everyone. Yes, Linux does have its fair share of problems, and it isn't the end-all be-all, but it is still an excellent way to fight back, reclaim your digital agency, freedom, competency, and independence. Switch to Linux now. If you don't know where to start anywhere. Like I said in this video, there is so much content online for first-time Linux users right now. On YouTube, on forums, on independent websites. AI chatbots are really great to talk to for figuring out how to get started with Linux. Just about any distro is a great place to start. While some of them are better than others, objectively in my opinion, anything is better than Windows at this point. Please take a day, take an afternoon, take a Saturday, switch to Linux. Just try it out. You got an old laptop, you got an old computer laying around or something, just throw it on there. That's what I've done with Arch Linux here. I've put it on my laptop. I do still have Windows 10 running on my desktop here. I'm trying to get off of it as soon as possible. But in the meantime, I'm learning Linux on my laptop. I'm getting acutely familiar with it, and one day very soon, this PC isn't going to run Windows on it anymore, and it's never going to run Windows on it again. Thank you very much for watching this video. Go ahead and leave a like, subscribe, leave your comments in the comment section below. Let me know what you thought, any critiques, opinions. I know that there's a growing issue with Linux, and its independence is kind of threatened right now due to some legislation and some other issues. And the Linux Foundation maybe has some questionable funding sources, but I'm not particularly educated on these issues. So if you'd like to talk about that in the comments section, I'd love to have a discussion with you. My name is Gavin. This is Little Buddy. Once again, thank you so much for watching the video. Take care. Additionally, we're seeing more mainstream tech channels. Additionally, we're seeing more mainstream tech channels that. Additionally, we're seeing more mainstream tech. All right, now, secondly. Whoa.